Rain on the way, and you know what that means. Joe Rayo is going to be doing radars
tonight. Advanced driving glasses designed to make you feel.
Hold on. All right, can I do my open just like without any interference, please? Thank you.
You know what? Let me explain.
Wait, no, don't explain. Let me get through the open first, and then you can, in 5 seconds or less, explain what was going on. So let me start it again. We've got rain on the way, and that means Joe Rayo is going to be doing Rayo's radars tonight. We're also going to be dealing with some strong winds tomorrow morning. The morning rush hour drive across the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states ought to be a Lulu. And then we have, of course, on the backside of this storm system tonight, we've got all sorts of things going on in the Midwest with blizzard warnings and winter weather advisories and wind advisories and high wind warnings. And what else is new? It's stormy in the West. And we're here in the East. And this is the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast on this Thursday night, the 18th of December. Shop Amazon, folks. Because if you do, and you do through our referral link, and you will find that referral link on the description of this podcast on YouTube. All you got to do is click on the link and do your Amazon shopping. Amazon throws us some coin for sending you there. And guess what? It doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your own pocket. And you know what it accomplishes? It means that the live Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, the live version, is commercial free. And I know you all like that. So we appreciate very much those of you who have shopped our referral link on Amazon. And if you're still looking for a weather station, look no further than Tempest by WeatherFlow. It's the revolutionary Tempest weather system. You get to be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. And it's easy to install, runs off your mobile device, and you can get a display for it if you want to put up a big display in your office or your bedroom or wherever it is you have your weather station. The link for this is on the chat board, at the top of the chat board, pinned there throughout the entire show. It's also on the description to this podcast. There's a coupon code that'll give you a discount. Isn't that right, Joe Rayo?
Yes, indeed. And that code is Autumn 2025. And if you use it, you will get 10% off anything that you purchase from the good folks at Tempest.
Okay. So what kind of pornography were you watching that I was hearing the audio of?
No, the problem is that you and I were talking before the show started. I was using my the microphone on my camera, and I did not. And when I do that, and when that happens, and I switch over to YouTube to check out our views on the YouTube, your YouTube channel, what happens? The sound comes through. It does not come through, however, when I use my microphone. When I plug my microphone in, all of those extraneous noises and sounds are cut out. So there you go. Do I sound overmodulated? Sabath Hunter says, I sound overmodulated. It might be because I'm talking this way.
Ever so slightly.
Yeah.
You're not an overmodulated type of person, though. But you're just ever so slightly, Joe Rayo.
Right.
Let me see if I could probably fix it on my end.
Well, Christopedia says, you sound fine, Joe Rayo. And okay. I always love Christopedia when she says things like that. So
I know. She's a kind soul, our Christinapedia, although she seldom beats me at Wordle.
Yes.
She'll post it. She did it in 3. Then it'll be a day I did it in 2. And I'll post it and just to rub it in. Anywho, we got wind and we got rain. And it looks like the models may have just backed off a little bit on the wind in terms of the duration. The strongest winds are going to come probably, as you said yesterday, probably between 4 a.m. and maybe about, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then after that, it should just start to slowly settle down.
Well, basically what I said for the lower Hudson Valley is that the first showers would start arriving sometime between midnight and 3 a.m. And then the heavy artillery, if you will, the moderate to heavy rains would arrive between 8 a.m. and noontime tomorrow. And during that 4-hour stretch, we'll probably be seeing southeasterly winds sustained or steady speeds of 10, maybe 20 miles an hour, some gusts to over 30. And then as the cold front, the actual frontal line passes on through, and from west to east, because again, remember, the Hudson Valley is a rather wide piece of real estate. So maybe near Port Jervis in western Orange County, the front will be getting on in just after 11 a.m. tomorrow. And as it continues to progress across the rest of the region, by 1 or 2 o'clock, it'll reach the New York Connecticut border. But by that time, during the time when the front is moving on by, the winds are going to rapidly shift from southeasterly or south southeasterly into the west northwest. And it's during that passage that we may see stronger gusts. We might see gusts upwards to 40, 50 miles an hour or more, not for a long length of time, but in the short time that we're seeing those kind of gusts, that could bring down some tree limbs, cause problems with power lines. There may be some scattered power outages across the area, and the winds
And you
will
may find
slow.
some of your blow up Santas blown away.
Yes, yes. But the winds will slowly subside thereafter, but it will be a slow diminishing through the rest of the day and into Friday night. And I think, Joe, by 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, the rain will be pretty well over, and we might actually break out into some intervals of sunshine. And as far as the temperatures are concerned, tomorrow the record high temperature at Westchester County Airport is 55, and that was set back in 1966. That's almost 60 years ago, 59 years ago. And it's possible that we'll be close to that. I don't think we're going to break it. And if it does indeed rise to those levels, it will be in the morning. And then during the time when the front passes on by, the temperatures will drop, but I don't think they're going to take that sharp drop. There's been some illusions that, oh, it's going to be so mild in the morning and it's going to drop sharply through the 40s and 30s and into the 20s by later in the day. No, it's not going to do that. What probably will happen is that the front will move on through. Just before it moves on through, let's say the temperature peaks out in the lower Hudson Valley at 53 or 55 or something like that. The front moves through, the temperatures drop back to maybe the upper 40s. Not a drop, but not a huge drop. And then late in the day and towards sundown, that's when you'll see the temperatures gliding on down through the 40s, into the 30s, and into the 20s by tomorrow night. The good news about the weekend, much less wind, less harsh, much less wind on Saturday, sun, then some clouds, much cooler, around 40 for a high, or give or take a degree or two. And then on Sunday, mid 40s, maybe 45
Right.
degrees. We're not looking at least I'm not looking at, a tremendous drop in temperature. We're not looking for temperatures during the daylight hours, Saturday or Sunday, in the 30s or 20s or teens or something like ridiculous like that. But it will get noticeably cooler or chillier Saturday, and it will be still on the cool side compared to what we're going to see here early in the day tomorrow when we get into perhaps the low to mid 50s.
And I don't see any major storm problems next week. The only system that looks like it's in play is on Tuesday. We have like a trough or a warm front. Not sure how to describe it. With the lower pressures to the north, there's probably going to be a stick of precipitation ahead of it. Um, some snow possible, or maybe just a couple of rain showers the further south you go. I don't think it's going to really do much of anything. And then Christmas Eve looks okay. Christmas Day looks okay. Maybe temps will be close to average, maybe a shade above average, but nothing crazy. But no big storms on the horizon for next week, which I think uh, um, is a good thing because it's a holiday and people like to need to get around and they don't really need complications. And documenting America, Mr. Weather Dave says storm for the 30th. He did not say, well, he got question marks. He posed a scenario where something could happen, and he must have used the word could about a dozen times to emphasize that it was a possibility. And I read through the post, and I understand exactly what he was talking about, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it. But it's a ways down the road. Today's the 18th, so we're talking 12 days from now. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen between now and then. in terms of the model adventures that we are being carried on. In the meantime, we do have Joe's going to get his radars ready to go. And while he's doing that, I am just going to run through a couple of things with respect to watches and warnings in the satellite loop, and then Joe's going to go on the local radars, because they're loading up pretty quick here. Wind advisories are up from Maine down to Maryland, and then along the Appalachian Mountains, almost but not quite to me. But they are up in western North Carolina, also for the interior of South Carolina. We have some wind advisories in Ohio, Indiana, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota. There are blizzard warnings up in northern Iowa, north central and northeast Iowa, and south central and southeast Minnesota, and winter weather advisories that go north and east from there into northeast Minnesota and across central and northern Wisconsin into the upper peninsula of Michigan. And on the lower peninsula, we have winter weather advisories along the shores of Lake Michigan. Out in the west, it's the same deal. We have high wind warnings, wind advisories, a few winter storm warnings up, western Wyoming, a couple of counties in Montana and Idaho, and also in the Cascades in Washington and Oregon, as the river of the atmosphere, or the atmospheric river, is continuing to feed in moisture. And here's our low as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, sitting right on the tip of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Half the low is on land, half the low is in Lake Superior. They usually put a pressure here, but I'm not seeing it. The map seems to be devoid of pressures. Let's see if I can figure out. So 20, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4. No, that can't be. Are they, it's got to be deeper than that. They've got a couple, pressures here. Usually they have some pressures lying on the map, but I can't really, 8, 12. Okay, so it was in fours. So 20, 16, 12, 8, 4, 0, 96, 92, 88. Looks like an 85-ish low in Lake Superior, Joe. The gradient's tight on the west side. It's also starting to tighten to the west of the coastal plain. So the winds haven't really picked up much yet. They're going to pick up after midnight, and then particularly pick up strong, say around 3 or 4 a.m. and go from there. But here's our cold front running through Lake Michigan, extending southward down into southern Missouri, through Arkansas, northern Louisiana, then curls down through South Texas. And with respect to the wide radar view, we've got loaded radars in the Ohio from Indiana and western Ohio and down into Kentucky and Tennessee. A lot of thunderstorms going on, even a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings popping up. But there's a lead area in Pennsylvania down to South Carolina, and this is, I was looking at the European compared to what's on the radar, Joe. The radar seems a little more aggressive than what the models are indicating at this time.
Well, you're right. The radar is fairly loaded up, and if you switch over to my screen, I've got the radar. I've got the radar from Pittsburgh, and you can see that they already have light to moderate rain spreading rapidly across western sections of Pennsylvania, adjacent sections of eastern Ohio, and the panhandle, narrow as it is, of West Virginia. And if that keeps on moving at that rate, it certainly is going to start doing something in the immediate tri-state area by the witching hour of midnight tonight. Around midnight or so, some of you will begin to see raindrops. This is due not necessarily to the cold front, but to a warm front that is located to our south and west. That is lifting north and eastward, and it's primarily that's causing the rains that you're seeing right now over parts of western Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Here is the view from Charleston, West Virginia, and you can see that West Virginia indeed is loaded up. But also notice, if you will, that as we move through time on this particular loop, that a lot of this precipitation, as it lifts up, leaves behind a big void in the atmosphere. That's because the atmosphere is now waiting for the cold front, the leading edge of that somewhat colder air that'll be building in later in the day tomorrow and tomorrow night, and that's back off to the west over toward Illinois and Indiana. We'll show you that in just a moment. I want to go further south, however, down to, let's say, Washington and Baltimore. They are seeing rain and shower activity spreading across the nation's capital into Baltimore and on across northern sections of Virginia. And if we go further south from there, let's go down into the area around Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. They have light to moderate rain and some flashes of yellow, indicating that there are some bursts of heavy precipitation crossing through the central part of North Carolina and down toward South Carolina, where it's heavy showery rains along the South Carolina coast. Now, what you're seeing here, this is the warm sector. They're in the warmer and more humid air. This is behind the aforementioned warm front. So it's no doubt if you're in this area, you're seeing perhaps a few showers and thunderstorms rumbling about, which we may see here during the first half of the day tomorrow. Here is Robbins Air Force Base / Jeffersonville. This is in central sections of Georgia. And you can see that almost bisecting Georgia is an area of moderate to even heavy shower activity. Could be some embedded thunderstorms here over in central sections of Georgia. Now, let's go to the west. As Joe mentioned, in Illinois and Indiana, they're seeing quite a bit. And take a look right here. Look at that skinny line. That, no doubt, is a band of thunderstorm activity moving across. Now, this is from North Webster, Indiana. And you can see that line rapidly racing through Indiana and into adjacent western Ohio. This could be a preview of what we'll see perhaps in some areas again early tomorrow. Maybe some lightning and thunder to go along with the heavy-duty showery rains, which we're expecting again in the first half of the day tomorrow. Now, actually, Joe, I told my son, who's a teacher and teaches in Orange County, and he's usually out the door by about 6:30 in the morning. I said, you may be lucky. You may actually be dealing with just regular showers for a while on the way to work. And the main batch, the heavy artillery, the wind, the rain, the possible convection, the possible thunderstorms may not arrive again until sometime around 8 a.m. As I said, I'm banking on 8 a.m. to noon for the heaviest rains to occur tomorrow, at least in the lower Hudson Valley area. As we go further south from there, let's go down to Evansville, Indiana. There's that skinny line of convection, which works its way all the way through into western sections of Kentucky. Mrs. Hutch, if you're watching, Maria, you may see some of this in the coming next few hours. You may see some
it's a nice looking line.
Yeah, it is. It's a skinny but potent line of showers and storms. And notice, if you will, the sharp back edge. And this is what I'm also talking about tomorrow here locally, that we get, the heavy stuff between, let's say, 7 and 11 or 8 a.m. and noontime. And then as soon as that passes, it ends. And we may actually break out into some sunshine for the early to mid-afternoon. So it's going to come sweeping in along with gusty, strong winds tomorrow. And again, the fact that I'm seeing here, or the fact that all of you are seeing here, thunderstorms rumbling about, that pretty well could mean that we will also see here in the tri-state area, or hear about later on, the threat of some shower and thunderstorm activity. I'm not thinking that we're looking at severe weather, but the fact that you may see some flashes of lightning or hear a few peals of thunder, don't be surprised in the first half of the day tomorrow if that indeed is the case. One more radar. Let's go further south. Let's go down to Millington, Tennessee. Millington. My dog comes from Tennessee. He's a rescue dog. And he came from Tennessee when we rescued him. Anyway, Tennessee, you're seeing your share of shower and thunderstorm activity as well over in western Tennessee and also down in adjacent sections of Mississippi. And all of that is moving quickly from west to east from actually Arkansas. And as you can see, behind this area here, nothing, nothing. Arkansas drying out nicely. Missouri drying out nicely, and also in northwestern Mississippi. They too are drying out nicely. And again, all of this is heading eastward. We'll begin moving in here into our area around midnight, it looks like, and will be with us at least for 12 hours, at least until midday, noontime tomorrow. And then things should begin to improve after the midday hours. But again, between now and then, be careful. Showers, possible thunderstorms, and again, strong and gusty winds. And with the actual frontal passage, winds could gust past 40 and 50 miles an hour, and that could result in some downing of tree limbs and also some power outages as well. Joe.
Yeah. And on the satellite loop, I mean, it really almost looks like it's two different systems because of that gap in between. You got all these clouds and rain running up through the Carolinas and Virginia and Pennsylvania, and that's heading northward. And there's that void Joe was talking about. You can see the bright white clouds are absent through Ohio. Actually, it might even be partially clear in spots. And then you've got two lines of storms, shower downpours and thunderstorms moving through Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee, as the radar Joe showed you was very active there. And then the back edge is just exiting Missouri and through central Illinois. You can even see the rotation of the upper trough that's in the western Great Lakes. So very, very dynamic system here, moving across southern Canada, right along the U.S. border and heading eastward. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Northwest, here comes the next surge, or actually it's already arrived, has pushed up into Washington and Oregon and Idaho, and that moisture field and the cloud line that goes down southwestward into the Pacific, all connected to that long subtropical jet that just refuses to get out of the way. And the radars up there tonight are very busy in Oregon and Washington. We've got some heavy rains going on in northwest as well as northeast Oregon and throughout much of southern Washington state. Some rain further northwest, a little lighter at the moment. And then we've got some of that moving into Idaho and just about to reach western Montana. And of course, in some of these mountains here in western Wyoming. And of course, in the mountains there, that's going to be in the form of some snow. Here are the 7-day precip amounts. So this takes us through next Thursday. All of pretty much everything you see in the east is front end loaded. So this is all tonight, where we're looking at anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to maybe in some places in northeast Pennsylvania and on up into central New York of inch and a half. Plus liquid, some streaks of that too in northern New Hampshire and Maine and in the St. Lawrence River Valley. It's generally a half to 3/4 as you head south, and then it really tails off in Georgia and in Florida. Dry in the middle, and look at the west, because now we've got these 7-inch plus rain amounts extending all the way down into Southern California. Up until now, much of the southern half of California has really not seen much of anything out of all this rain that has been coming in, especially into Washington and Oregon. But over the next 7 days, we're going to see that subtropical jet shift further south as the trough off the west coast deepens and dives further south as well. So we're looking at 10 to 15-inch liquid amounts in the Sierra Nevadas over the next 7 days. And this is all, by the way, as you remember, this is all on top of what's already fallen. And we've got, looks like 6 inches plus of liquid in the Cascades and right along the immediate coast of Washington and Oregon, and also some big precip amounts in Idaho. We don't talk about Idaho very much, but we do have some areas of 4 and 5-inch liquid amounts, and it's not all going to be snow in the valleys. It's going to be rain, and that extends into western Wyoming, where in the mountainous terrain, it's going to mean a lot of snow. So here's our system for tonight. As I said, if you look at what the European has in terms of its precip presentation, and just use your imagination with respect to the radars, because everything will be just a little bit further along. And then you take the wide shot here. It does look like the radars are overperforming, or the models perhaps are underdoing it. with respect to rainfall, but showing up pretty well on the models from Michigan down into Alabama with the heavier rain and thunderstorms. And then, of course, where the low center is a 985 on the European. And you can see the area of snow that's arced around it and then over the top into Canada. And then you also see the dark blue, really heavy snow in parts of western Montana and into Idaho. But you also see the rain that extends all across Washington state. It's pretty warm up here, relatively speaking. Yeah, in the mountains it's cold, but in the valleys where most people live, uh, it's warm and it's rainy. And there's a 79 low. There's been a parade of these systems. I can't remember the last time we've seen a parade of systems moving across southern Canada, like in the pattern we're in now. So here's our front. The warm front surge, and then the cold front pushes through. This is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's mostly done. And then, of course, the gradient remains pretty tight going into Friday night and early Saturday morning, and then it eases. Uh, then we've got another one of these lows. This next low is peaking north of Montana on Friday, and then as it moves eastward, it just starts to weaken, and it weakens considerably. In fact, the Gulf of Mexico is not going to be open for this one. So we see the pressures rise. It goes from a 70, like a 970-ish low to 990 by the time we get to Saturday afternoon, and it gets even weaker as it moves into southeastern Canada. So the front that comes through on Sunday, not going to do very much. And then we've got some cold air behind the cold shot is quick behind this first thing. The cold shot coming in for Sunday night, Monday, and into Tuesday is a little bit more robust, but it's not like the cold air masses we've seen so far in the month of December. That high is going to settle in somewhere in Virginia and North Carolina. Then we got another low, another one of these southern Canada lows moving eastward, and it has sort of like a weak warm front, weak cold front kind of thing for Tuesday. It looks like early Tuesday morning, little warm front goes by with some snow, particularly from New York, north of New York City. Actually, it has a little bit of blue in northeast New Jersey. So who knows? Maybe that elusive tenth of an inch to get New York City to 3 will come on Tuesday morning. And then that goes out with a couple of rain showers behind it, some snow up in New England. And then after that, Wednesday looks fine. There's a weak disturbance Wednesday night into Thursday, maybe a couple of showers, maybe not. And then we head into next Friday and Saturday where things look okay. Then there's another low, again, another low moving across southern Canada come the weekend after Christmas, and that brings another cold front and another shot of cold air. That's the one thing, and we talked about this last night, Joe, with Mr. Tolerus, that the way the pattern is set up, because there's blocking going on from Iceland to Greenland, and that block may try to build up, may try to build as we go into next week and beyond, that's going to that is going to keep the northeast part of the U.S. and down maybe even into the northern mid-Atlantic states will not go into this is not turning into some sort of blowtorch pattern for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. It won't be warm in the plains and in the middle of the country, but that warm air is not going to get here at all, from what I'm seeing.
And CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, agrees with you, Joe. In fact, I'm just going to share this particular view with everybody. This is the view from the folks who are the specialists in long-term forecasts. This is the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. This is valid from the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, December 26th, through New Year's Day, day after Boxing Day 2025, to the new year, January 1st, 2026. And just as Joe mentioned, there is a broad area in the nation's midsection of temperatures that are expected to be on the mild side. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in this zone that you see here, let me go back here. In this zone that you see here, which covers most of northern and central Texas and a good chunk of Oklahoma, there's like an 80 to 90% probability that the temperatures are going to be above normal. So it's going to be quite warm in this area as we head toward the end of the year. However, as we see here in the northeastern part of the country, look, near normal temperatures. And in fact, in New England, New Hampshire, eastern and central Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and all of Maine, temperatures are going to be a bit below the norm. So if you're looking for, balmy temperatures here in our section of the country during the final week of 2025, apparently it's not going to happen. We're going to stay either in a near normal late December pattern or even slightly below normal temperatures. If you want the warmth, you're going to have to again head for places further to the south and to the west, where again, in the nation's midsection, the central and southern plains, they are going to be experiencing abnormally mild conditions or warm conditions. Also, near normal for the west coast, much of central and northern California and the coastal plain of Oregon and a good part of Washington. And in fact, in the northwest corner of Washington state, you find here temperatures just a bit below normal for that final week of 2025. So warm in the middle and bookended in the east and the west by near normal or slightly below normal temperatures from the 26th of December through the 1st of the new year, Joe.
Yeah. I got the European weeklies, which are interesting because I was getting a little. They slightly went warmish a few days ago for a couple of runs. Now they've backed off, and well, here's next week. So you just saw what Joe showed you for the 8 to 14 day. So this would take us actually till this goes from Monday, December 25th, 22nd through Monday, December 29th. And that matches up where the CPC guys, what the European did. And you'll notice that basically from the Delmarva Peninsula to New Jersey and points north and northeast, the white is normal, the light blue and the darker blues, of course, are below normal. So New England down to the northern mid-Atlantic near the weekly average. That doesn't mean there can't be above normal days in there, because there probably will be. But when you average it all out between the cold air masses that come in and go out on the colder days and the warmer days, you're going to wind up fairly close to normal. And then as we move into January, this is December 29th through January 5th, the normals extend down to coastal North Carolina, and the above normal area still stays out in the middle from the Rockies and Plains, but it does relax a bit. It's not quite as above normal as it is for next week. And this is the 5th through the 12th of January. And now we've got below normal back in the northern plains, the western lakes, near normal in the northeast to the northern mid-Atlantic. For the 12th to the 19th, that near normal expands southward down the coastal plain, and you still have it near or a little below normal going back up to the Great Lakes. From the 19th to the 26th, it spreads out even more. Now you've got near normal temperatures even dropping down into the southern plains, with only a little above normal in the southeast, but near normal again, northeast, northern mid-Atlantic, back to the Great Lakes and northern Ohio Valley. And the last one on the weeklies is the 26th of January to February 2nd, where everybody east of the Rockies is showing near average temperatures for this time of year. So we're not seeing any indication from some of the long range models that there's a blowtorch down the road of any, at least through the end of January. And what I've noticed with these weeklies is as you go further out in time, they tend to smooth things out, just like when you look at the weather models going out beyond 10 days. Things kind of get smoothed out to some degree. Well, when you look at this, now it's only going to show like near normal. You're not going to see those dark blue below normals or those dark red above normals. You'll start to see it correct for that as it gets closer and closer to the time frame. But I think if you're a winter weather lover, you can't be really too discouraged by this overall look. The only issue I would have as far as snow is concerned is you're going to have to hope for something to come down in that flow over the top of the ridge and then kind of drop into the eastern part of the United States, just like the one did last week. Uh, that's probably the only way that you're going to get something. And Dave was talking about the block maybe forcing something in the northwest flow to come down and maybe develop something off the mid-Atlantic coast or off the coast of New Jersey and Delaware, which would be an impact, say, for places in northern New Jersey, New York City, and points north and east for around the 29th or 30th. Not impossible. I would just probably say that the fact that the models are not really showing that too much is more of a good sign for snow lovers, because if it put it there, it'd be gone on the next run anyhow. So if it's something's going to happen, you'll start to see occasional runs show some hints of it, then it might take it away. So that's the one thing you might want to look for over the next couple of weeks. We bell ringing for 100 likes.
We got 101 actually. So thank you
very
much. We've been doing that with great frequency, going
Very
above
good.
100. And I just wanted to point something out about the New York City 3-inch rule that I came up with some years ago. If you average out the last 30 winters, the amount of snow that New York gets in a typical winter season is now 28.2 inches. 28.2 over the last 30 winters or the last 30 years. Now, in 16 of those cases, we've had below normal or snowfall amount in New York State below that 28.2 inch mark. And in 14 of those years out of the 30, we have had above 28.2. The highest amount goes back 30 years or 30 winters ago. Joe, you remember it, and I certainly remember it. The winter of 1995-96, that winter, 75.6 inches of snow in New York, including the infamous blizzard of 96. And the least amount of snow that has fallen over the last 30 some odd years, well, we don't have to go too far back. There was only, I'm looking here, I've lost my place. In 2022, we had 2.3 inches at Central Park for the entire season. And again, the rule is that if we end up with 2.9 inches of snow in Central Park or less, then there is a chance, in fact, that chance is about 85.7%, that we will have below normal snowfall for Central Park or for New York City. And again, normal, 28.2 inches. If we end up with 3 inches or more, if we get to the 3-inch mark and go higher than that, then it usually turns out to be above normal. And in fact, the above normal situation. Now, excuse me. We've had 14 above normals. If we're 3 inches or more, then there's an 85.7% chance that it will be an above normal year or above normal.
And why it works for that one point is beyond me, because I tried that in a bunch of different places, some to the north and some to the south, and I could find no correlation whatsoever. And just for some reason, and it's that one point. And just remember that New York City Central Park is not really representative of and you saw it this weekend, where the snow amounts in and around New York City proper were 50% lower than what the snowfall was just outside, away from the quote heat island effect. So
right.
Just bear that in mind.
Absolutely. 16 below normal out of the last 30. 16 below normal snowfall years at Central Park, and 15 out of the 16 came when the snowfall fell short of 3 inches, 2.9 inches or less. So if it's 2.9 inches or less, the odds are 93.8% that New York will have below normal snowfall. Now, if it turns out that New York gets, let's say, 28 inches, that's 2/10 of an inch less than the normal, according to these figures. 28 inches is not bad. I wouldn't get upset if
No, and
I
you know
had
what? If
something
the
like
city,
that.
this depending on the circumstance, if the city gets 28, you might get 38. Or if you
It
go, or if you go through that stretch in the 2000s and 2010s where it was all along the coast, if New York City got 28, Long Island got 48, and you got 18.
now
Well, maybe
the
not.
one
Maybe not
exception
18. Maybe 23.
the one exception to this, as far as above normal Decembers are concerned, in 2008, December had 6 inches of snow at Central Park. So I said, "Wow, okay, here we go. We're going to have a big winter in terms of snow. We're above normal winter." Now, that 6 inches translated overall to 27.6 inches of snow for the entire season. Now, that's not terrible. That's not horrible, but it was
No.
still below normal, below the
Well, below normal,
28.2.
right? But below normal, using the 30 years from 95 to to 2025. Now it's a half an inch or so below normal. But at the time that fell, the normal snowfall number that they were using was 70, 80, 90. So it was, I think, was the 70, the mean from 1970 to 2000, which was only 20 for New York City.
So it would have turned
So,
out to be so it changed.
so
It
yeah,
changed.
so it changes. That's the tricky part of all of this is that if you, I think probably the fairest way to do it is you'd have to go back and do all 155 winters and come up with, and come up with a number, and you'll probably come up with an average close to the 28 or 29, maybe even, between 29 and 30, and just kind of use that as your baseline. So, yeah, it's either that or just maybe create a range. Like, okay, if it's within 2 inches either side of the normal number, we'll call it normal. I don't
Now
know. It's
here's Now, there were two consecutive odd years, 2015 and 2016. Excuse me, yeah, 2015, only a trace of snow fell in December, and people were probably banging their heads and saying, "Oh no, here we go! It's going to be one of those terrible, single-digit snowfall years at Central Park." No, it didn't turn out that way. 32.8 inches of snow fell for the season. And then the following year, we had 1 inch of snow. And excuse me, the year before we had only 1 inch of snow, 2014, and we had 50.3 inches
yeah,
of snow. So it varies. It doesn't vary very often, but generally speaking, and I'll tell you what, Joe, you just mentioned about how you'd have to maybe average out all 158 some odd years at Central Park to get a full idea.
right,
If you go by long-term averages, which is 30-year intervals, it
right.
may very well be that 28.2 is going to drop next year because the last year of that
No,
survey or
no.
the last year,
Actually, well, no. It may not. It may not. It may not drop that much, or it may stay the same because the 30-year period, you're going to lose 1990 to 2000, which actually was in spite of the blizzard of 96, and in spite of the fact that the record snow was set in that year, 1990 to 2000 was the least snowiest decade on record in New York.
wow,
Okay.
I didn't
So
even
you're going
I
to
didn't even
lose
realize that.
that. What's that?
I didn't realize that was
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was
The
something like
three
in the
least,
60s or 70s.
no, the three least snowiest decades. Okay. So it's all nicely needed, rounded off, you know, 70 to 79, 80 to 80, I'm sorry, 71 to 80, 81 to 90, etc. The three least snowiest decades were the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. The 70s was the third least snowiest, the 80s was the second, and the 90s was the least snowiest decade, believe it or not. So when that comes out, unless this decade, which the first five winters of this decade are not, were nothing to write home about snow wise. I mean, there were two above normals and three below normals. So, and then you had that one, single digits in two of those years.
Well,
So,
in 2020, we had 10.5 inches of snow in the month of December, and we had 38.6 at Central Park, and that's so far in the 20s. Now, 2020 to up until right now, that is the only winter at Central Park that has been above normal. And since then, 2021 had a total of 17.9, 2022, the lowest of all time, even beating the winter of 72, 73 with 2.3, 2023, 7.5, and even last year, nothing to write home about with 12.9 inches. So the bar has been set very low over the last several years. You don't really need all that much to top out or top off above any of the last 4 or 5 winters. And 2.9 inches right now, you said all we need is another tenth to make it 3 inches, and hopefully that will set the stage for at least for New York City.
oh, we'll see.
Normal year.
All right, let's run through Briller Jeopardy real quick. You ready?
Okay, ready.
All right, everybody ready? We're going to do Briller Jeopardy real quick. All right, so we're still on this percent chance of a white Christmas. And we're going to start tonight with Fairbanks, Alaska.
Well, Fairbanks could be very cold, but cold often sometimes suppresses snow. So I wouldn't say now. This is for what the month of December now, right?
A white Christmas for
white Christmas, a white
percentage
Christmas.
for a white Christmas at Fairbanks, Alaska.
Oh well, you don't really need all that much to get a white Christmas, and I'm sure Fairbanks, in spite of the cold, will get there. I'll say 90%.
Okay. Now, I think the logical answer for where Fairbanks is that you might have said something. You might have even said 100%. Okay.
Right.
But, and I was kind of hoping you would, because that's why I could have shamed you. But Teresa De Silva and Mr. TRWS and Carol DeCara all said 99. Rich Rothmansky said 99.9. Okay. But no, 99. 99%. There is 1 year since 1900 where Fairbanks did not have a white Christmas, and that year was 19. Now this is kind of interesting. I think it was 1934. It just coincidentally in February of 34 was when New York City set its all-time record low temperature of -15. So there you go. All right, percentage chance for a white Christmas in Seattle.
Oh, I'm going to say low. I'll say like 6%.
That's certainly a valiant guess, a legitimate guess. It is an incorrect guess. But Mike Waterhouse Bonsai gets it with 4%. Let's go to the southeast coast of the U.S. and check Charleston, South Carolina.
How about 2% for Charleston, South Carolina?
Ring the bell for yourself. 2% is the answer.
There you go.
Okay.
Ta-da.
Next on the hit parade, everybody ready? Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. I don't know, 15%?
Too low. Too low.
Okay.
Steve LaPointe has 55%. Too high. Too high. Trying to see. Frank R2130 is right there. You're right there, Frank, at 32. But Bobby Livingsworth is at 33, and that is the correct answer, 33.
That's almost the average of what I said and what.
Well, yeah, I was kind of trying to go in that direction.
Yeah.
And finally tonight we have Syracuse.
Oh God. Syracuse, they get like the Golden Snow Shovel Award up there. I'll say 80.
Now I think that's a logical guess. And I again will credit you for the valiant effort, but it's wrong. But Rich Rothmansky nailed it. It's boxcars, Joe. Boxcars.
66.
66. Yes.
WNBC.
So I'm going to finish off tonight with something very interesting because uh, Frank on the chat board, Frank Scalera, was talking about going food shopping and getting ready for Christmas Eve for the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Okay. So I am a first generation Italian American. I was born here barely, okay, in 1959. My parents came here when they were in their 20s. So that is really relatively recent, and all my close relatives are either first generation or they actually were born in Italy and then emigrated here in the 50s and in the 60s. And anyway, I grew up speaking uh, very little English until I went to school at the age of 5. So, and I'm not fluent in Italian because if you don't use it, you don't use it, you lose it, but you don't ever really lose it because it's still there. So I could carry a conversation. Anyway, I looked up this Feast of the Seven Fishes, Joe, because growing up, growing up in a really super Italian household, I mean, we did seafood on Christmas Eve, but it did not have any kind of special name like the Feast of the Seven Fishes. And I did a little research and found that the Feast of the Seven Fishes is actually an Italian American celebration of Christmas Eve. Okay? And it's not something that was brought from Italy. In other words, in Italy, they don't call it the Feast of the Seven Fishes or the Festa dei Sette Pesci. They don't do that. Okay, they do the seafood, but they don't have it. They don't call it that. So this is really an Italian American thing, believe it or not, that has evolved. And just reading about it, they looks like they cherry picked all sorts of different things to sort of try to explain how this evolved. And it actually never really appeared as a concept. It was popularized by Nick Vidala, writing for the Philadelphia Inquirer, uh, which is the it's the oldest reference to this, and it was in the 1983 article. So it's really a relatively recent phenomena that it's called the Feast of the Seven Fishes, which is Christmas Eve. Because in Italian households on Christmas Eve, we have everything is fish, and mostly fried fish, because in those days people were poor, so the easiest thing to do was to fry something. So anyhow, that is. I just wanted to share that. I'll put the link up again for anybody who's interested in it, and we'll just leave it at that. So, no show on Sunday, folks. So, next time you see us will be Monday. Next week, we'll be on Monday and Tuesday, and we will be off Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas, and then come back on Sunday, the 28th, unless there's something really, weather-wise, if there's something really catastrophic, uh, where we would jump on the 26th or the 27th, because as far as Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are concerned, ain't happening. It just ain't happening. So uh, we're all set, and we could say goodnight. How many likes did we get?
I see 119 on my counter.
Okay, well that's
So,
good. That's a good thing.
yeah, pretty good.
119 likes is a good thing. So thank you for the 119 likes, everybody. Have a great Thursday, a great Friday, and a great weekend. We'll see you next Monday at 7:35.
We'll be
So
here.
long.
Bye bye.